Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Left Face. I tried to get my laughs, my giggles out of the way before the music, but I love it so much. My name is Adam Gillard. I'm your co-host along with Dick Wilkinson. How you doing, Dick?
I'm doing great, Adam.
Excuse me, your co-host and composer.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Let's get you all the credits you deserve.
Yep.
This is the Pike Speak political podcast from a veteran's point of view, Left Face. Thanks for joining us again for another episode. And again, always a ton of things to talk about in the news here. I think the biggest thing, or the most refreshing thing in the last day that we've seen, is that a grand jury failed to indict the 6 members of Congress who released a video saying don't follow illegal orders.
Yeah.
Mark Kelly's kind of the big name on that because he still held a rank and things like that. Yep. What did you hear about that ruling and some of the things that came out about it?
So I saw Mark Kelly on CNN, and he did a good 15-minute segment on there, and it was excellent. He was talking about the experience of being indicted and the military side of them trying to strip his rank and money and everything like that. So he really just got into it. He didn't hold back, and I agree. That the grand jury got it right, and. People say that usually you can get a grand jury to indict a ham sandwich, right? Like if you just lay it out right, because there's no commitment to guilt. It's just, do you think this happened, right?
Yeah, the reasonable doubt.
And so they couldn't even cross that barrier with the evidence that they had. Because the video is straightforward, right? And I don't think even people that have no military background are going to watch the video and think that they were discouraging lawful orders. Right. It just never happened within that statement. So,
and one thing I always tell folks, or to bring it up, is we receive a briefing like that every year,
all the time.
Every time you're going into a different AOR, you're told not to follow illegal orders.
Yeah, that was just 30 seconds of the 45-minute long briefing that you get, every year.
Right. Yeah. And we've all seen the horrible stories that have come out from people that do that and just kind of go along and things like that.
And it's not. This isn't back World War II or previous where people were making bad choices. Abu Ghraib.
Yeah.
I mean, we had torture in the last wars that we had, right? America was using these techniques that were not okay, right? Like by any measure of people's, humanity.
Yeah.
And it was the whole, they were doing it, so I was doing it.
Yeah.
It seemed like it was okay at the time. And I understand that in deployed situations under stress, and you're basically on Mars when you're in that place, right? So you may behave very differently in that environment, and then you get a little bit of social pressure or rank pressure behind it, and following orders can make people do really bad stuff.
And then there's always going to be your top guard that just kind of looks the other way, so that and just let you go. It's always horrific that when those things happen, and the fact that we're trying to prevent things, and these are tactics that are well known, things that they do, and we're seeing ICE do things that are just like that, where they're kicking down doors, busting in, things like that, and all of these things without a warrant,
I heard that detail we're talking about ICE, the administrative warrants piece, which from a legal perspective is totally different than a bench warrant, right? Bench warrant means a judge issued a summons to get you. The administrative warrants come from the secretary of the DHS. Like, that's the signatory.
Yeah,
that's scary.
That's the federal government kicking down your door for just
without the justice system involved. Right.
Yeah.
Like they direct. The executive branch is doing it on their own.
Yeah.
That's not how that's supposed to work. The Justice Department exists for a reason.
And so Mark Kelly, Jason Crow, a few other folks, came out and put that video out there. Yeah. Another interesting thing that came out about the ruling that you mentioned is that the judge said that they can't go after them militarily.
Yes.
We talked in the past about the military has their own side of things where it's just kind of the same thing where you get a group of officers, your peers, and they try to do like a grand jury type thing and get people to sit down and listen. And I doubt they would be able to seat people that are looking at retirement.
Yeah.
And say, hey, you want to go strip this guy of his earned retirement?
Yeah, exactly. It's a sort of like, you got a union built thing right here.
Yeah.
There's sort of a union there, right? Amongst those officers of like, hey, we're all in this together.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So
Yeah, we're all
yeah.
looking at pretty satisfying retirements.
Yeah,
here.
exactly. So we don't want to set a precedent of like, hey, if you step out of line based on political reasons, not you didn't break the law, you
Yeah.
just upset somebody politically that you could lose these benefits that you've earned.
Yeah.
Nah, I agree. It'd be really hard to get a group of people in the military to do that, right?
Yeah. And
so yes, I think it's great that the judge, just put the hammer down on all that and said like, this, stop it, don't do this. You can't move forward with it.
Yeah, and one of Mark Kelly's big thing, when during his little talking tour the last day here was that, where are all of your free speech Republicans? Like all the First Amendment Republicans who are, out there saying all their hateful things based off the free speech.
Mm-hmm.
Like where's everybody, even in the Senate and in the House, like where are you guys?
Yeah.
Like you are giving up so much of your power by being complicit in these actions.
Yeah, even what should be a core value, you're letting it be, usurped by being loyal, to the program. If you will.
And this is the long-term strategy that they had, with the Heritage Foundation, that Project 2012 is when they came in, they cut so many positions and replaced them with their folks.
Yeah.
Just yes men ready to do whatever. And probably the biggest example of that right now is Pam Bondi, the attorney general who, I don't know if she knows the law anymore. Like she's lying under oath, getting called out for it. Proving that Kash Patel, the FBI director, lied under oath with the things that she said, all to avoid any kind of accountability for Donald Trump and his group of friends. These billionaire class that had this pedophile ring and damaged, abused, murdered children.
Yeah.
And she can't even, she's focused on, asking about the S&P 500 and Dow Jones and things like that. And like, if we're there as a nation that we care more about our 401ks than the president raping children, I think we're in a very, very bad spot. You know what I mean? And I think most people like heard that and felt gross about it.
Oh, for sure. Yes. The way that whole situation played out, where she brought that up as she was being called out to say, none of these people were able to talk to the Justice Department. And here's these survivors right here.
Behind her.
There they are. They want to talk to you. You could leave the room right after this and have an appointment with any of them.
Yep.
But you won't, right? And so the distraction, she threw out the word Trump derangement syndrome more than once in her lashing out towards people up on the bench there, right? And that is probably the most telling piece, that she was there to do dirty work for Donald Trump. Yeah. She wasn't there to be the AG. She doesn't, you're right, she does not operate like any other attorney general has ever operated, right? She's not independent, for sure, right? Even though I understand they're selected by the president, but then they generally take their duties as an independent operation, right? Yeah. She's never done that, right? No. And so getting up there and hurling insults at people that are trying to investigate how you're doing your job, and doing that in the name, literally, of the man you're trying to protect, using his name within those insults, like it is so far beyond what the point of that job is,
and it's so like clear to me that she's covering and that she's hiding things. There's no reason for people to snap and act like this. Like you look at Hillary Clinton in her Benghazi deposition, where she was there for like 12 hours.
Sure.
Calm, composed, answered questions. Were mistakes made? Yeah, sure. Like a lot of shit, should be changed in hindsight, right?
Sure.
But you still sit there and you talk like an adult, and you act like an adult, and you answer for your decisions. That's how these things work. And everybody in this administration is so immature and unqualified for their positions that when they get any kind of pushback, their narcissistic egos are, you're stupid, you're wrong. They have no way of like speaking intelligently about what they're trying to do or accomplish.
Yeah, it's a deflection. Right? Yeah,
100% every time. And so her, outburst and how dare you, like that is such a narcissistic, like if you're jumping straight to that and just being loud in general, like you've lost the argument.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. In that setting. Yes, in that setting, for sure. Yeah, you're not, down at the KFC counter yelling at somebody, like, give me my French fries. That's where you get upset. Go for it, right?
Yeah.
That's that's the place to do it. Not in the house, floor.
Yeah.
That's not the place to be yelling at people.
Right.
I heard this one guy who was talking about the event and said he had testified before Congress before, and the coaching that he got was be calm, clear, and credible. That's how you need to address any question, whether it's a difficult question or whatever. That's your guiding principles right there. And he said none of those were present today. She wasn't calm from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
She was never clear. She was not answering questions and just talking in circles about the wrong stuff. And that made her not credible.
Yeah.
Because there was no direct answer to anything. And so that I thought that was a great kind of summary of the performance.
Yeah, that is very clear and concise.
Yeah.
Did you also see that it's kind of crazy? They have pictures of what she was holding in her.
The insult cards.
Yeah. Well, the insult cards and the search history of the representatives.
Of who had looked up what documents and how they were going to ask questions about the Epstein files.
Yeah. So they
intel on the Epstein.
Yeah, they allowed Congress to go look at the unredacted files, and the unredacted files, a lot of them are already redacted by the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
So the Justice Department just said, like, well, we didn't put any of our redactions in there.
Sure.
But, like, if they got files from the FBI that were already redacted, it's still a redacted file.
They didn't review them.
Yeah. Right. So, so Congress got access to it. The folks that went in and searched, and they didn't have, a ton of time either. They had their search histories. They knew what they looked up, the cases and things like that. I mean, I'm sure they sign, like, whenever you log on to any DoD system, you say you consent to monitoring. So the legality of that is probably there.
It's there. Yeah.
Just because they're using government systems.
Yeah.
Ethics are another question, but I don't think it is ever a question for them, when it comes to, ethics.
Yeah. No. That's not part of the checklist.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, she gets, the congresswoman, I can't remember whose name was it that I saw, but she's looking into it. But, like, who do you go to when these things, the people that are breaking the law are the people that are there to enforce the law? Like, who is there to go to, because all IGs have been fired, people have been replaced. Where's the break system?
Yeah, no, you're right. There's no recourse right now, right?
Yeah,
other than Congress inquiring, right?
Right. Yeah.
And we saw how that went. So
yeah. It's just we are, we talked about it a little bit. We are such a pivotal point in American history, and one thing that people lean on is us being the oldest democracy and how we're the beacon for democracy in the world. Mm-hmm. But we haven't changed it in so long, and now we're just outdated.
Yeah,
like we could do like a constitutional convention, but, like, there's no way anybody like the left side's ready for that at all. Like, I think the right side would mop the floor. Like, if they did a constitutional convention and, like, actually, like, started, like, planning and trying to, like, do something with our constitution to make it more modern.
Sure.
Like, because that like I'll hear a lot of like leftists call for that, and it's like, no, man, like, we're not ready for that.
No, that's a bad idea. Yeah. Not right now.
Yeah. So, but we're in that pivotal moment of our history where if we don't start holding these people accountable who are clearly covering up something disgusting and huge. I mean, I went through some of the Epstein stuff, and there's talk of, like, jerky in there, like how they're, like, trading jerky and stuff.
Okay.
And it sounds like they're eating children. Maybe they're just trading children. But the day after the FBI announced that they were doing an investigation into Epstein in, like, 2016, he ordered, like, 6 55-gallon drums of sulfuric acid.
Okay.
And that gets rid of bodies.
Sure.
When Steve Bannon sold his house,
or maybe you use it in your swimming pools.
Yeah, you get that hard scale, that Key West scale. But when Steve Bannon sold his house, that has Epstein ties too. There's a lot of acid damage in the bathtub.
Oh yeah.
And there's just, and this is all in the Epstein files, where it's just like, what is going on? Like, why? And then we have, a woman sitting there with Epstein victims behind her. Mm-hmm. Not even looking them in the eye and not listening to them and covering up for just rich, powerful men. And there are some women too, because heads are rolling in Europe. That there
Sure.
was like a princess or something in Europe that got kind of
Go
canned.
away.
Yeah, and then Prince Andrew or former Prince Andrew is probably going to see some charges here coming at him.
Yeah.
That they're prepping for that. And
They did. I did hear the funny joke. It's kind of like Ghislaine got moved to a better prison, right? Like Andrew got moved from the real castle to a guest
Smaller
house on
castle.
an estate
Yeah.
that's still
Yeah.
just a castle. You know what I'm saying?
Only 20 servants.
He had,
you know,
he had to move, to 30 miles further away from London to a different, castle.
Yeah.
Oh no.
But yeah, I mean, they're jockeying even more to like. I think he's probably going to get charged.
Sure.
Like the king.
Why not?
The king has said he's not. He's like, yeah,
I'm not going to
investigate. Yeah, he's like, investigate.
Sure.
Like find this out. So good on him for doing that. But yeah, there's so many names in there that of people, famous people that just it's just so disgusting to see it. The veil come off.
And even there's been a lot of people who said that they had stopped interacting with him, and then come to find out they never did. Right?
Yeah, Lutnick, the transportation.
Yeah, Lutnick. There's been a
or something,
bunch, though, right?
Yeah.
There's been a bunch of people that were in that
Articles.
boat, right? Like a whole bunch, even more obscure people that are starting to, as you say, get caught up in this. Those people are much more on the fringe of like, oh yeah, who's that?
Yeah.
Okay, rich people that are not necessarily famous, right? But you hear about it, you're like, okay, yeah, I kind of understand who that is.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people like that are starting to get caught up of like, oh yeah, I stopped talking to him in 2010, and then it's like, no, you never did.
Well,
all the emails, people who did favors for him and stuff that would have almost certainly weren't involved in any sexual trafficking or harm, but were aware that this dude was dirty.
Yeah,
and we're still the money could not be denied. Is what it came down to. He's the word financier.
Yeah.
What a weird word. But all that really means is he has so much money that people lick his feet basically to get some action.
Absolutely,
right? And those people could not turn away from the relationship because he was the path to billions, right? And that they just were willing to look the other way and ignore what they knew, and those people are starting to get called out of like, hey, you should have known better, right?
So there's a lot more interviews of Epstein talking, and he was telling a story about where he was on phones while he was incarcerated, and like he had to like reach the phones from ear to ear because the phones are on short cords.
Okay.
But he was talking to like the head of Bear Stearns,
sure,
JP Morgan. He's talking to like big people making deals from prison for pedophilia. Like these folks are still calling him, and they'd like, when you call collect from prison, it's no, So they were doing so much stuff with him after conviction. After a sweet deal there too.
Money.
And it's just mind blowing that so many people who pushed for disclosure of this and wanted this information, now that it's not being delivered even further, they're just ignorant to it. They don't want to get political now.
Yeah.
We got to keep bringing it to the forefront at all times, just because people need to know that it's going on. It's just not acceptable at any level for you to ignore this.
Yeah.
And I don't give a shit about your S&P. I don't care about your Dow Jones.
The Dow Jones.
Like we protect people, and that's just an American value that should not be let go of.
Sure.
The next thing I wanted to kind of talk about, I'm from Michigan originally. That's where I grew up and was raised. And, in every household, Gordie Howe is an absolute legend.
Okay.
And
I can't say I've never heard that name before, but definitely I don't know who he is. Right?
So Mr. Hockey.
Yeah.
He 801 goals, I think, is what he ended up with. So he had the most goals until Gretzky.
Okay.
And then Gretzky, did his thing. And now Ovechkin just overtook Gretzky. But anyways, we love hockey. We love Gordie Howe.
Yeah.
Gordie Howe was born in Canada, became an absolute legend in Michigan.
Okay.
Canada started building this bridge a few years ago that was going to connect Ontario to Detroit. A huge interstate commerce, traffic flow and things like that. And they paid for the bridge. It's ready to be opened. It's ready to open up this huge, international corridor. And Donald Trump says, no, we cannot open that bridge until you give us half of it. And so now this bridge is going to sit there,
Yeah.
like until like I don't know what the Prime Minister of Canada is going to do on this. So the bridge is going to sit there, not being used, and I mean it's not being used already, so you're not missing out on anything. But it's a capability that's not being utilized.
It's just dormant.
Right. My big fear is Trump's going to try and change the name of the bridge. And I told you earlier, like if he does that, like I think Kid Rock would boycott Trump then, because you just don't mess with Gordie Howe.
That would be the end of MAGA. Kid Rock turns on.
That could be our
nobody
linchpin.
Understands that. Yeah, Kid Rock is the linchpin. Right?
Yeah. He's got to flip him.
That's it.
Speaking of Kid Rock, he had a little concert the other day, a little small gathering.
Yeah.
I mean, the halftime show that he put on, a lot of his the follow-on tour and stuff like that's been canceled because artists were pulling out and things like that.
Okay.
And artists were pulling out because they're like, oh, we don't want to get political. Like, why did you sign up in the first place for a Kid Rock tour?
Yeah.
Like for Turning Point USA. Like, yeah, there's going to be pushback. But he put on his halftime show with a few other artists, and I didn't see that one. I didn't watch any videos of it. What I read was it was lip sung, and it was not even well like choreographed lip sunging or anything.
It was
like
slapped
that.
together production wise. Yeah,
Like it was a MAGA event. Really, it was just like you said, show flash, but no like stability to it, no substance really. They said that they got like 4 million views. A lot of those have been proven to be bots.
Okay.
So that they're projecting closer to like 1 million views on it. And that's the MAGA's outrage over what the NFL decided.
Yes.
The NFL had over 100 million views for their halftime show for Bad Bunny.
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard of Bad Bunny. Like not even like
because you're from Michigan. That's because you know who Gordie Howe is.
Exactly. Yeah. We're a colder climate. But never heard of them because I'm just not into like pop culture a whole lot. So like I haven't been a big like fan of the halftime show since like the Who. Like the Who was like the greatest one ever. It was like 2008, 2009. Oh, they hit all their hits. It was incredible. But so I haven't really followed any halftime show. I'll watch them for just because it's the halftime show and I'm there. This Bad Bunny performance, I actually was captivated with. Mm-hmm. Like from the beginning, the cane fields, the guy playing the guitar, things like that. Just you could tell what this was from the beginning. This is going to be just a tribute to Puerto Rico and what they bring and what they're proud of, really.
Yes.
And so from the beginning, it was just phenomenal. What did you take away from that halftime show?
Well, I am a fan of Bad Bunny and Spanish hip hop, and I have been for years.
And just as to fact check this, he threw out like the top 10, like Billboard top 100 of like Spanish pop, like earlier. So like he legitimately like is a big fan, and it just blew my mind. It cracked me up.
yeah, and no hablar, don't speak Spanish. I grew up in Texas, so I heard Spanish, all my life, and then I lived in Albuquerque for 8 years. And so I got into Spanish hip hop when I lived in Albuquerque, and I've stuck with it. So I loved the show. I thought it was great. I knew all the songs. And I was impressed by the production value on this because usually there's just one big central stage and then there'll be a couple of kind of props,
Yeah.
But the fact that it was much more immersive, he was moving around through the set.
Yeah.
But the set was alive. Right. That I just thought that was awesome.
Yeah. And every scene was just so poignant too.
Yeah. Everything had its own kind of purpose. Right. Yeah. It was great.
It was, funny because I was kind of tracking the proposal and the wedding and stuff like that. But then it was a real wedding. Because that couple, they invited Bad Bunny to their wedding.
Okay.
And he responded like, hey, why don't you just come do it at the Super Bowl?
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. Like you talk about, being of the people.
Yeah. Yeah,
and at the end where he listed off all the
every country in America.
Yes. The Western Hemisphere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
that was pretty great.
Yeah, and how anybody can like not see the beauty in that just frustrates me. Mm-hmm. When they say we try to divide and push hate and things like that. It's like that was such a beautiful performance that just highlighted what they're proud of.
Yeah.
The boxing scene where they have a ton of great boxers. I mentioned the jersey that he was wearing or like his outfit. it was covering up the number 62, I think it was, or 64,
Yeah.
during the last hurricane. I think it was Maria.
Yes.
When the Trump administration really botched the response. The Trump administration put the official death toll in the mid 60s, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But he had that number on that jersey that you could barely see, but it was there. And the real death toll is in the thousands.
Sure.
And, so being able to call out things like that and be able to just put out truth. And he put out a lot of information in that little halftime show.
He did. And you know what? Again, I would applaud that. Just like the number, the subtlety of everything, of all the messaging, right? Like you say, we're proud of this. This is what we bring to the culture, to America, whatever, mm-hmm. right? Like, it wasn't done in a beat you over the head political sort of way, but it delivered exactly the right message, right? And I always have to applaud when someone doesn't have to go over the top and wear something F ice,
right? Yeah,
that would have been
right,
obvious, right? If somebody was just, that's what they were doing, right? That's a little less effective, maybe a lot less effective sometimes,
yes, absolutely.
And so I just enjoy the fact that he didn't need to go that route, right? And then nothing about it was down that lane at all.
Yeah, and just ending on handing his Grammy to like the little version of him, and just saying, always believe in yourself, or whatever. It's just like so inspirational.
Yes,
it was for so many people.
Yep. And the reality that people have talked about, and I don't know why it gets mentioned in weird ways, about someday in the future the amount of Spanish speakers that there will be in the United States,
mm-hmm.
or the amount of the Hispanic or Latino population, how much it's growing or shifting. And so then that it turns into we have to have a halftime show where we're speaking English, right? And instead of an acceptance of your neighbor that Spanish is just a language that's spoken here.
Yeah.
Like you say, this Constitution hasn't been updated in 40 years, right? Like, things change, right? We're a 200-plus-year-old country. Things are going to change, and there's nothing. It's just a different language. That's it.
Right.
That's it. It's nothing to be afraid of, right?
Yeah, and I think it's some folks get embarrassed when they don't understand, or they have to like struggle to.
Yeah.
But like doing simple things and trying to learn the languages show so much respect to them and their culture, and it just bridges your communities just by putting a tiny bit of effort into these things and not trying to shut them up. Tell them to be quiet. You know what I mean? It's just.
I always find it. I watch a lot of police shows, right? Which now, you can just watch the news, and ICE is a police show, right? But I like to watch things like On Patrol Live and Cops and that.
I'm surprised there's not an ICE one yet. No, now that you mentioned,
there's enough footage that what I'm saying. But I'm always impressed. There's certain regions in America where if you're a police officer, you're going to be interacting with people that only speak Spanish a lot, right? Like if you live in New Mexico. 50% chance that you're going to talk to somebody that doesn't speak English, right? But it doesn't matter. If you're a police officer, you have to be able to communicate with the people you interact with in a professional way to deliver legal outcomes, right? You know what I'm saying, right? If they can't understand what you're saying and you can't understand what they're saying, you may not get to the arrest, may be illegal. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be able to communicate, right? So I'm always impressed when it's obvious that there's a police officer that learned Spanish because it was part of the job. You can just tell sometimes, right? You're like, because they'll say, they're driving in the car and they're like, oh, I'm from Kentucky, but I moved out here to Arizona. I was in the military and now I stayed here. And so blah, blah, blah. And then they get out of the car and just hobbler. And I'm like, good for you, like that means you take your job serious.
Yeah. You want to care about the community.
Yeah. You want to do your job well, and you want to make sure you're being fair to the people that you're interacting with.
Yeah.
So I see that and I'm always impressed by it.
Yeah.
So.
Last thing we wanted to hit here, try to end on something a little more positive.
Okay.
It's the DCCC. I don't know what all the letters stand for, but it's like the Democratic campaign committees that like look at races around the country.
Congressional. Federal Congress is one of those C's.
Yeah.
Democratic Congress. Congressional something.
Yeah. So the DCCC, when they look at races, they can really dump money into them.
Yeah.
And they really make them competitive. For the first time ever, Colorado Springs got listed on that list.
Okay.
We've never elected a Democrat, in Colorado Springs CD5 area, and the district has changed so much in the last few redistricting, where the demographics are changing. But this year, with the help of some big campaign supporters, Jessica Killen coming into this race and bringing her big circle of donors and things like that, and immediately raising
relationship back to the Harris family, right? Kamala Harris.
Doug Emhoff, who she worked for. So, and actually the Obama administration too.
Okay.
She did some. She's done a lot of stuff out there, but she beat Crank in fundraising the last couple quarters.
Okay.
And so the DCCC for the first time ever put Colorado Springs on this list, and we went from an R+9 to an R+5.
Okay.
In the last couple weeks. So the tide is turning, and the wave is coming. We just got to make sure that we keep a hold of these elections. What are your thoughts with this kind of attention being brought on to the CD5 race?
The DCCC operates like when you have your own campaign, right, and you're going to spend your money on your messaging, and then there will be a PAC. You see the TV commercials, and a lot of times it's not paid for by the campaign.
Right.
It's paid for by citizens that love guns, right? And they pick a candidate, and they'll do a mudslinging campaign against their opponent, right? And that money all gets spent without any interaction with the campaign, right? DCCC operates like that. They're in that category of
super PAC.
They're a PAC type organization where if they say, we're going to come and support your campaign, there's limits to how they interact with you. So they'll give training to everybody. It won't just be for your campaign, but they'll say, bring your people, and we'll do campaign training and help them learn how to use the tools that we have. And we provide, Van and different apps that let you get, go door knock and spend your money wisely, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's given as a resource to anybody in the district, right? But then when it comes to the general campaign after the primary, they tend to operate more like one of those PACs where they'll run TV commercials that you don't supervise. You have no input. You have no way to weigh in on the topic.
Yeah.
But they try and use a specific lever topic in your district and say, this is what people care about. We're going to try and make you, the message is going to make you as a candidate align with what we want this message to be. That has backfired sometimes. The point of this whole diatribe here is I have witnessed back in New Mexico. I was paying really close attention to the activities. I went to their training and was involved in the DCCC back in New Mexico for a couple of years. And there was a Democratic race in one of the CD2, which is down south, that was lost. It was won for one term, and then when she went to get reelected, she lost, and it just flipped back to a person who had it before, right, or had ran for it before. And so it was just a flip-flop, one-term kind of thing. It was greatly considered that the DCCC's messaging around that campaign hurt that candidate.
Really?
Yeah. And so there you go. There's my it's exciting in that there's attention, but tread lightly because there's landmines in there.
Because the DCCC is going to take that more federal Washington view and push that, whereas like rural New Mexico
exactly it.
Doesn't care.
Right. They wanted a very moderate Democrat. They did not want a progressive Democrat.
Right. Yeah.
And so her commercials were her in boots and cowboy clothes shooting a shotgun off the back of a truck, right? Even though she was the Democratic water lawyer, like her career had been obscure law practice in New Mexico, and then she just became Congresswoman, right? And so even in that first term, people were like, we don't know this woman, right? Like, we need to learn who she is. So when it was time to run again, she was like, this is my chance to really get my message out there of like, who am I? Well, the DCCC wanted to align her with more like AOC and that super progressive, like, she's a Hispanic woman. We're going to run this as she's the most progressive flavor of Democrat that there is. Like, this is gold for us, right? And she was like, that's not what I need. And that's what happened.
So that'd be interesting because, I think they're here because, Killen, her attention has pull. But she's definitely more of a moderate person. So would they come in here and try to push a big, because we've talked about this before, like a progressive really can't win in this area. Like AOC could come here and not win.
No.
You know,
Yeah.
you have to
Spend all the money she has and still not win.
yeah, like you have to have like a good base foundation of the more central Democrats,
yes.
the moderate ones, and the independents to build off of.
Absolutely.
Like you can't just jump from.
You can't win with the blue base around here. No, that's not possible.
Yeah. We're like 16% of the population right now.
Yeah, you cannot win with the blue base. You must court the middle.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what their strategy is, and even what comes out of the democratic process when we go through caucus and things like that, because we still have to go through all of that because there's 5 candidates still shooting.
So they're going to offer help to all 5 candidates all through the primary is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
and then,
that's good to hear.
Yeah, there'll be access to them. If you're in one of those positions or a campaign manager for one of those folks, don't be afraid to reach out to them. Don't think that they're just here to pour sugar on one certain person, right? They really will support you up through that primary. So that's great. But they are definitely going to try and tip the scale towards somebody, right? And then on the general side, the relationship changes, and that's it. Really, it's just the relationship changes on the other side of the general election. So, but I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying I've seen it not go well.
I think an interesting stat I saw the other day that grosses me out for one, but 94% of the time, the person who outspends in the House of Representatives wins the election.
For sure.
94%.
94%? Yeah.
So
I believe it.
So right now,
that's one of the first things I really sunk into me was like, man, if you're running for federal Congress, you need money.
Yeah. Because right now,
even in an obscure district down in southern New Mexico where there's barely enough people to make a district, you still need millions of dollars.
Yeah. And Crank has like $1 million cash on hand right now.
Yeah.
But he doesn't need to run a primary. So it's 2 elections that happen. So you get 2 sets of donation limits. So you run through the primary, and if he keeps this whole $1 million that he has already and he's still fundraising, then he just gets to turn that over and ask those same people for more money for the general election. So him not having to spend any money, he's going to have a huge war chest, and we need to match that if we want to have a chance. And we do, like with his history of not responding to the constituents and just being absolutely vacant on any kind of decision in Congress. He's in a hot seat right now. Like I think we can win this one.
I agree with your viewpoint, and I'm not even being pessimistic, but we're just in this very red area.
We are, and I think right now 50%ish, a little over 50% independents. There was like 60% that voted last time, so almost 1 in 2 or 1 in 3 didn't vote.
Sure.
So we need to still hit those folks and get out to the east side. And if we spread like a good message out there of just rebuilding this area and having folks on our federal Congress people for the last 20-30 years have not done anything to help us grow as a city, whereas we could have been bringing in federal money to help feed some of our infrastructure. If we could sell a message like that on the east side, where those folks are struggling with shitty water and things like that, and just poorer services, I think we could reach a lot of those folks. And so I think there's a clear path to victory, especially than there was 2 years ago. But we need to get behind the right candidate, and people need to not throw too many stones from inside our own house.
Yeah, agree. I haven't put any thought since I moved here, and I guess I'm kind of surprised about this, that I haven't thought about this now that I'm saying it out loud. I haven't tuned into what would be the key issue of the top 1, 2, 3 political issues that if I was going to run a federal campaign around here, you would want to stand on, right? And be like, this is what we're running on. That's not, like you say, ultra aligned with the federal Democratic message, because that's not going to sell well around here. Right. You're going to have to sound like you've got some independent thought. You can't just pick up the banner and be like, blue stuff. That doesn't work. Right? So you have, what would be that candidate's stance of credibility to say, I'm not just here to jump on the blue bandwagon. I'm here to support you locally in the best way possible. I don't know.
That'd be a good question for them.
Issues would be there. Not
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. We should probably after the caucus, we'll reach out and get whoever's made it to the ballot.
Yeah,
We'll reach out and have them come on here and answer that question.
yeah. I'm curious what
Yeah.
that is because I guess I haven't. You get out and interact with the public a lot more in political settings than I do, so you get to hear more of definitely what the Democrats talk to candidates about. I've only been to the one event that one time, so I only heard a limited view of them asking Phil Weiser certain questions.
Yeah.
So that was good insight, but that was definitely about state level stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just curious what piques the interest of any independents that would float into a room like
Right.
that, because people come to those events
They
when there's a
do.
candidate speaking that aren't party affiliated.
And it's an interesting point you make there because a lot of the questions usually are really focused on the go blue stuff or like hold Trump accountable.
Yeah,
stuff.
what are you going to do to people?
Yeah, but yeah. More questions about let's see what you're going to do here.
What's the tone of the
Yeah.
populace outside of the blue base? I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because I don't talk to enough people to know, right?
Yeah.
But if you're already out candidating,
Yeah.
you've been doing that for
Yeah.
been shaking hands and talking to rooms full of people for a few months now. So you got a pretty good idea of what people are going to tune into. I'm curious.
Yeah, and that's a good question for the all listener base out there too. If you have anything you want to add to us, go ahead and email us at info@epcc.org. And if you have any opinions that you want us to put out here, let us know, and we'll push out your thoughts.
And that would be a bridge to influencing candidates. So it's not just me and Adam yapping about it on the radio, right? So. But there's an opportunity there to say, hey, this is a strong message that candidates would probably care about. So take us up on that.
Yeah, take advantage of that.
Yeah.
But thanks again for tuning in for another episode of Left Face. Again, my name is Adam Gillard here with Dick Wilkinson. Appreciate you tuning in. Thanks, everybody.